And welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs podcast for the website cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. True or false? It's episode 87. Episode 87. True or false? I tried to do this. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. It is 3:35 p.m. True or false? I came back from the dog park with Maverick, obviously. Go dog park. There's the dog parks with bars and stuff. And, imagine just being a person that just goes there by yourself. Like, it's your Cheers. You walk in, all the dogs are like, oh. Bartender's like, how's it looking, Andy? And then you go, like a dog chasing a squirrel. I'll never catch it. What I'm saying is my dogs-based Cheers spinoff is not going to happen. All right. I tried to do this at noon. Halfway through, actually not even halfway. I was fully almost done with this show. I did not realize for some reason the Adobe Audition that I used to record on was not working. And I go, no matter, it's recording on OBS. I have it streaming to LinkedIn. Let's see what's going on. 20 or so minutes in, I notice that the audio mixer on OBS is not picking up the sound. I can hear myself, but that's because I have these headphones plugged into the Zoom H6, which is plugged into the computer. Nothing was talking to anything. So I was streaming and I was recording, but not a single thing was being captured. So I spent 20 minutes just talking. Now I have to go back and do all this shit again and pretend. Just pretend. All right, let's get on with the stories. Today we're going to talk about Bari Weiss taking on CNN. Taking on CBS. Jesus, Chad. What's going on with you, buddy? Can we see it? This comes from The Wrap. It's written by Corbin Boyles. Now I can't even see anything. I don't know what's going on with. Here we go. Bari Weiss demands, how do you spend your day? Memos from all CBS staffers by Tuesday, which is today. Here's the thing. We've heard tale of this kind of move from Elon Musk's reign as the Doge head earlier this year. It's a shitty move, to say the least, and quite frankly, it's something that is unnecessary. And it is very much a fear-mongering move, whether you think so or not. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Bari Weiss is a woman who has never worked as a reporter, has never done any real journalism, and she's now in charge of CBS News. If you don't know that name, you should know that she worked at the New York Times as an opinion writer, which is why I could say I'm more of a reporter than she is. Very true. But she worked at the New York Times as an opinion writer, and then she left that job, and she started what is a Substack, the Free Press, where she's gathered up, this is more or less in her own words, people who have also been excised from the traditional news organizations to start a conservative-leaning, I will not say right-leaning, but I will definitely say conservative-leaning digital. I am definitely trying not to say news organization because there is a point. There's a point where news just isn't news, and I refuse to use the word content. But to start this website, to this Substack, where people can write partially partially sourced articles. That's all I could say. That's all I could really say about that. John Oliver's Last Week Tonight did a cover story about Bari Weiss, so you can learn all about her from that. She's somebody who should not be in charge of CBS News. Just point blank. It'd be very much like putting me in charge of Warner Brothers and saying that just because I have ideas and trying to implement them would be equal to, me being a Bob Iger running Disney. I'm not saying he's doing a really good job. Bob, please give me a job. So Bari Weiss, she sent out, when she was named the head of CBS News after Paramount Skydance purchased the Free Press for roughly $150 million. And again, essentially gave this is a simile, and it has nothing to do with who she is or what she looks like. It's like giving a fat kid the keys to a candy store. She sent a memo that said by Tuesday, people need to detail, CBS News staffers, need to detail their jobs and their opinions on the organization. This comes via the wrap from Semaphore. Weiss framed the directive as a move to get to know her employees better, saying that the newsroom is, quote, a big place with functional titles and reporting structures that I'm learning. She continued by saying that she wants to make CBS News the most trusted and most consumed news source in the nation. Those are kind of fighting ideals. When you can't be the most trusted and the most consumed in the nation. If you look at Fox News, it is somewhat of a news organization, but I would definitely not say it's the most trusted. It is probably the most consumed news source. On the other hand, I'm a huge fan of PBS NewsHour. They put straight up news on that show. And it is, I would say, for pound, it is the most trusted news organization. There's no left or right. It is truly just the gray area. And they're definitely not the most consumed news source in anywhere, if there's anything. She's not Weiss continues. She's not looking for a JD or words like synergy. I mentioned this the first time I tried to record this episode, and I will mention it again. I don't know what the hell a JD is, but there you go. I know one JD, and he's on Scrubs. I want to know how you spend your working hours, and ideally what you've made or are making that you're most proud of. I'm also interested in hearing your views on what's working, what's broken or substandard, and how we can be better. Please be blunt. It will help me greatly. Now, this memo came on Friday, and expecting it in two business days. Even take Tuesday out of the equation, expecting it in one business day is something that is quite unfair, and sending people home in a panic on a Friday. News is a 24-hour operation. But people aren't going to work on a Saturday or Sunday and write a memo. I'll tell you this, it's very difficult to get people working in the news to do anything on a Saturday or Sunday if it's not breaking news. Very difficult. Now, the WGA came out almost immediately and, at the request of themselves, said, I should probably delete that. Hold on, let me pop this open. This comes from Variety, written by Todd Spangler. The WGA urges CBS News staffers to not respond to Bari Weiss' info-seeking memo until company provides details on the purpose of her email. Again, this is the email was something just out of the blue, and to make people at CBS News already in this position of having to walk a thin line because their new owners, Skydance, of Paramount Skydance fame, are already leaning conservative. They're already losing what makes broadcast news, the trustworthy source. They're already leaning conservative. They've already bought this conservative conservative-leaning digital media site. There we go. And they've appointed this person who has no earthly idea how to run an organization of this caliber in a position of running an organization of this caliber. And now we have the WGA standing up for people who are part of their union, people who pay dues, who they represent, saying, hey, this is not good. This is something that is, again, fear-mongering and creating a more dread where there shouldn't be. CBS News is in a precarious position. They didn't have to. They settled a a lawsuit with the current presidential administration because he's a big dumb baby, and they lost somebody who was a couple of people, but people who were in charge of 60 Minutes. They lost their big people at CBS News. In the same way, ABC News had to do the exact same. Well, they didn't have to. Again, they didn't have to. But ABC News did this exact same thing. They settled with the George Stephanopoulos Good Morning America lawsuit. Was it Good Morning America? I know he was on that show. But so broadcast news is, as I mentioned in passing before, is losing its down the middle objectivity. Its way of like truly just making news. And I know if you listen to the Constitutionals, I often talk smack about people like Gayle King and how there's truly just she says nothing of import. But there is a point with broadcast news. While the cablers are out there fighting for your attention with their tactics of putting up these sensationalist headlines, and while social media is this new form of taking in information, I guess is the best way to put it without putting it down, because there, even if I'm not somebody who spends time on Instagram and Blue Sky and the Twitter that shall not be named, there's some type of validity to that shit. I will talk down to a little bit, but this broadcast news is supposed to be very much in line with what the nation should be. What the world should be. We should be delivering facts and not just emotions when it comes to this. So the Writers Guild of America, which not only represents TV writers and movie writers, but also represents news writers as well, it told union employees that it represents at CBS News not to respond to an email requesting information sent to staff by Bari Weiss until CBS provides more details on what the purpose of her missive is, including whether their replies could serve as, quote, a basis for discipline, discharge, or layoff. Hold on. And in an email to WJ members obtained by Variety, union reps said that, quote, we are aware that Weiss sent an email asking CBS employees to provide information about their jobs and feedback about CBS News. Many of you have expressed concern to us about the purpose of the email, and we share those concerns. They continued, this is why we sent the company an immediate demand to provide information about the email by Monday, which was yesterday, October 13th. We suggest that you refrain from responding until we are able to share the information that we receive so that you can make an informed decision by the Tuesday deadline. What was in the WGA email? What we found, the rep sent to CBS, Todd Spangler, of Variety. What they received was, what they sent out was, who received the email? So who are the people at CBS News received the email? Who will have access to responses that employees provide? Will employees' responses be the basis for discipline, discharge, or layoff? Will employees be disciplined if they do not respond to the email? What does the company intend to do with the responses? Will the company use AI technology to review the responses? If so, what prompts will be given? What steps will be taken to ensure that the results are non-discriminatory? They have every white right. I was saying CBS News. They have every white right to. I did it again. They have every right to put this out, and as does CBS News, I guess, have the right to just say, this new head, hey, what are you doing? However, there is a point where we know that there could be retaliatory effort when it comes to people, just basically doing what you asked. It's imagine, being asked this question, hey, what could CBS do to change? CBS News do to change? And then you could say, it'd be wonderful if we did more vertical video. And then they'd be like, that's wrong, you're fired. When I was, I've mentioned this before, and it's happened to me in so many industries in which I've worked, that it just makes me think, why would you even ask the question? Because I'm not going to waste time. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit on my hands, because I'm not a child. We're all adults. You should be able to take comments. When I was serving at a restaurant in Roswell, Georgia, where I lived, where I grew up, it was a summer restaurant job for me. So I was home from college, and it was a restaurant off of Canton Street. And so Canton Street is in downtown Roswell. It's a very happening place if you're stupid and you live in the suburbs. If you've never been to a city in your life, but it's a very happening place, busy all the time. And I worked at a restaurant off of Canton Street, so that's not on Canton Street. So it was never really busy all the time. The owner of the restaurant, he was a nice guy, but all of the customers that came were mostly his friends. And I just told this story this week, so it's why it's fresh in my head. But it was always his friends, and they weren't the best tippers. They always got the same thing, cheeseburgers. Hey, does a cheeseburger have lettuce and tomato on it? Let's take that off. The stuff that it's at least slightly healthy. Anyway, these people, he would, at least when I got there, we had maybe one or two restaurant-wide meetings. And by restaurant-wide, I mean it was the one bartender that works there, the woman that had worked there for 20 years, with every change of the guard of the owner of the restaurant, she's been there. And then like 3 or 4 other servers. So not that many people. and he sat us down for the first meeting, for the second meeting. He's like, I like to do this every other week or so. I'm like, he's never done that. in the 3 months I've been there, he's never done that. But I like to do this every other week or so, and just like talk and see where you guys are at and see if you guys have any ideas. And I gave him an idea. I said, hey, listen, you have to, not rebrand, but you have to get the name of the restaurant out there. You have to do other things instead of just having your friends come by, because they can only get you so far. And I remember my specific words were, the good old boys aren't always going to, be there for you. And he was like, well, Chad, that's how he spoke. Well, Chad, it's, it's those are the ones who always stood by me and blah, blah, blah. So you're wrong about that. And I was just like, all right, well, fuck. and then like 2 weeks later, I quit on a Saturday night because it was Saturday night and I couldn't even bring home $30. The same thing happened at CNN. I had one of the women in charge of me, when I was working there as the prompter person. We would have meetings, let's say every month or every couple of weeks, very frequently, which is kind of them, but they never showed up in the office. I'll say that much. Anyway, we would have meetings, one-on-ones every couple of weeks to check in and see all that shit. And I would always have suggestions and ideas, because they're like, hey, do you have any feedback? What can we do? And I would always give feedback. Hey, when the fires in Hawaii, I said, hey, we're covering, the white people that live there. Wouldn't it be better if we just cover people of color? And it took them so long to cover people of color, and it's because they were always covering the rich white people who had second homes, who own the restaurants. What about the people that work for them? What about the people whose homes are there, whose only homes are there? I talked about changing the CNN website. It's confusing to read. How it's just so much shit everywhere. So what is that? And I always had like they wanted those ideas, but they always would shoot things down. Well, those are the people that are that we're talking to, or oh well, we are rebranding the website, but it's going to be more focused on video. Just like I can't help you if you don't. And this is going to sound very cliche, but if you don't want to help yourself. And that's why CNN's always in the third place spot. Anyway, the memo, the Weiss memo, brought in confusion. This comes from Variety. Bari Weiss memo sparks confusion at CBS News. Some producers urge staff to respond after WGA says to wait. This news came on Monday, October 13th. Again, producers, the people who aren't represented by the union, are running around and saying, hey, you should probably just do this because we don't know what's going to happen. This isn't the producers trying to save their hides. It's the producers trying to save everybody that is working with them, because we're in this point where these convergences of media are happening. And we saw what happened with, let's go back to the New York Times buying out The Athletic and then folding the sports section of the New York Times, the storied sports section, and replacing it with The Athletic. So many people lost their jobs. And you can say, yeah, well, these beats were probably unnecessary and it's better handled at The Athletic. But you're passing off two things that could have lived together. And my point is, the free press isn't going to be something that lives on its own. I feel as though, well, I fucking know as though there's going to be some point in the future where Bari starts bringing in the people that she trusts and that she wants to work with, as opposed to the people who were really trained and have been working their butts off at CBS News. This is something else I mentioned in the first time I tried to record this. I know I talk a lot of shit about other organizations and organizations that I used to work for, like Warner Brothers Discovery. Mark Thompson, to the very least, to the things I dislike about him and David Zaslav the most, Mark Thompson at least came from BBC to New York Times, and now he's at CNN. For some reason they brought back the subscription, and whereas when CNN Plus was destroyed, dismantled within like a week. Which is, I don't know. And then we're also HBO Max is losing access to live streaming CNN. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, but on a bigger scale, CNN has the name, he's done the work with Mark Thompson's done the work, and he is sort of righting the ship, right? Look at this, righting the ship. That is CNN at this point. But he knows what he's doing. And even if he doesn't have the cable experience, he at least has the news coverage experience. And Bari Weiss does not. She, for all intents and purposes, I'm a journalist and she is not. She's a woman who, that sounds sexist, but I will say it anyway, because I don't give a shit. Cancel me. She's a woman who has access to a keyboard. Within hours of the memo surfacing, the WGA counseled union members at CBS not to answer the missive until CBS provided more details. But this drama is creating a huge, just a slew of confusion. Staffers are saying mass confusion because they have been urged by some of their superiors to file notes to Weiss, and their union has told them the exact opposite. Some producers are not covered by a union contract to CBS News and may feel pressure to get employees to follow the new boss's orders, according to people with the matter. There is a good reason to shake up CBS News. The division has suffered through a parade of senior executives over the last few years, none of them able to buck recent trends and gain more traction for weekday standards, CBS Evening News, and CBS Mornings, which continue to rest in third place when compared to their time slot competitors from NBC News and ABC News. We already know that. Now, this happened in between the time of me trying to record the first episode, the first version of this episode, and then going about my day, and then coming back and saying, let me try this shit again. This comes from Variety, written by Brian Steinberg. CBS News staffers won't be disciplined for not responding to Bari Weiss's memo, says the union. Now, that's really, really good news. But ignoring the memo, will that put people on some sort of list? And not to be disciplined, but at least to be watched. That is just I know it's very conspiracy-brained to think, but in this world of, hey, your job could be on the line, maybe it's the right way to do it. Steinberg writes, CBS has indicated that staffers at CBS News will not be disciplined if they do not respond to a much scrutinized message sent last week by Bari Weiss. The union representing many CBS News employees said, according to the Writers Guild of America. They wrote that the response is optional, and the company further stated that if you choose to respond, it will not be a basis for discipline, discharge, or layoff. I'm glad that they keep reusing those words, because those are the things that it's very important, because it could be actionable if they choose to act on those words. I wish I could say I have hopes for Bari Weiss, but I don't. If you look into her background, she is somebody that has a conservative bent, and quite frankly, when she left, I don't know if she was fired, but when she left the New York Times opinion section, remember, opinion, that's two different things. You know who else does opinion? People on YouTube who review video games. A 20-minute review of a video game, first of all, is a waste of time. A 20-minute review of a video game, and it's all opinion. Especially somebody who plays every single big game. This is why I don't subscribe to big YouTubers. You get burned out, and every game becomes the same. It's like saying, what is it? The new Ghost of Tsushima game, the Ghost of Yotei, or whatever it is. It's the first game was great. This second game has better systems and probably a better story, probably better gameplay. It definitely has better gameplay from what I've seen. But if you're playing every big game that comes out in a year, and you're a game reviewer, then obviously they're all kind of going to blend in together. In the same way that if I go to the movies all the time and I see every movie, it's going to get less exciting. I saw The Smashing Machine today. That's what I saw between records. And you know what? I enjoyed my time, and I had to let go of the fact that 2 weeks ago, I saw another movie in theaters, and then like a day before that, I saw a movie in the theater. So let's go back to Bari Weiss. The thing is, though, I don't have any hopes for her, and it's to hire somebody who is already showing their cards, who has shown their cards. When she left, again, let me go back to when she left the New York Times. When she left the New York Times, she, in her words, said that she felt like you couldn't voice your own opinion. You're right in the opinion section. For a periodical that published things by Tom Cotton. An article by Tom Cotton, one of the biggest racists that I've seen in recent years in politics. Tom Cotton, go back and read that. I read that piece, and it was fucking deplorable to see that something I subscribed to would allow for such drivel to be posted online. Anyway. Bari said that she felt bullied and that she couldn't voice her opinions, and she referred to her resignation as an event that rocked the world. I don't want someone who plays the victim in that sense, who is friendly with, Megyn Kelly and Jeff Bezos and people of that ilk. I don't want somebody like that in charge of a major broadcaster, one of the big three in terms of broadcasting, and a network that has such a storied position in the news, whether or not they're in third place. I don't give a shit what place they're in. They are CBS. By and large, they're CBS. They're one of the oldest at Paramount. It's one of the oldest studios still going. To have this person in charge of CBS News is disheartening, and it's going to truly drive that company down. In a year, whenever Paramount Skydance becomes official, whenever CBS News has to start gearing up and publishing things that they want attention for at the news Emmys, we will see what's going to happen. But right now, starting with this memo, Bari Weiss and company are showing who they are and who they're going to be, and it's only going to get worse. CBS News, just like ABC News, just like NBC News, just like PBS NewsHour, BBC America, BBC News, CNN, MS Now, Miss Now, and Fox News, even though that a lot of those have their lanes, they need to start going down the middle. And I know I'm not, I know I'm stating the obvious when I say that, but for these broadcasters, there's no wiggle room. There's none at all. You're reporting the news for the biggest audience, which is, a lot of people don't want to watch Fox or CNN or Miss Now. A lot of people don't know. MS Now is the dumbest name ever. But a lot of people don't want to have to rely on cable news with their sensationalistic broadcasting. When it comes to these broadcasters, to these mainline broadcasters, there needs to be trustworthiness. And Bari Weiss is not going to be able to let that slide, let that go, let that be on CBS News. But this is where we are. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can see all the things that live there. If you want to see a video version of this show, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy. We're going to see a video version of the other podcast, The Constitutionals, the Entertainment Business News podcast, and Late Night Lately, the late night show. You can also see me talk to famous people there sometimes under the interviews. Subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at C Plus Comedy, me at Chad Blackwhite. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.